President Donald Trump's decision to pardon people involved in the U.S. Capitol violence is becoming an issue in a Wisconsin election.
After a statement by one state Supreme Court candidate, a U.S. Capitol officer is speaking out now. Our State Capitol Bureau Chief Vanessa Kelson reports.
A former U.S. Capitol police officer who defended the nation's Capitol on January 6, 2021 during the insurrection paid a visit to our very own Capitol, highlighting the stakes of this race.
It's personal to me.
Former Officer Dunn, reflecting on January 6th, is speaking out against Wisconsin State Supreme Court candidate Brad Schimel.
I don't know Brad Schimel's policy on anything else except for that he is okay with supporting the rioters who attacked me and my co-workers, period.
Schimel, the conservative candidate, is endorsed by over 70 sheriffs in the state.
Anyone who engaged in violence and January 6th, assaulted a police officer, resisted arrest, those people should have been prosecuted. That's against the law. They should be prosecuted and held accountable.
During a Monday campaign call, the former Wisconsin Attorney General supported President Trump's power to pardon the roughly 1,500 defendants from the January 6th insurrection.
President Biden has issued pardons. President Trump has now issued pardons as he's come in. And presidents over history have done that. It's a power they have. I don't object to them.
But former Officer Dunn says you can't support police and these pardons at the same time.
It's clearly playing both sides.
In a statement, Crawford campaign spokesperson Derek Honeyman writes, Judge Crawford believes anyone found guilty of violently assaulting law enforcement and first responders should be held accountable, including those who assaulted police in our nation's capital on January 6th. In Madison, Vanessa Kelson.
Now, the state Supreme Court election is April 1st.